Hey there, humans, I am Gene Pocket, and welcome to another edition of what I guess we're calling News for Human Use. I hope you had a great week. I know it's tough to do these days with the menace of bots, machines, and artificial intelligences looming on the horizon, their sinister tentacles slithering into every facet of our lives in the form of smartphones, vacuum cleaners, and self-checkout machines. I wish I was coming on to say I had good news, but we left all the good news on the other side of Y2K. Now, we're in the middle of a war. We're waist deep in the big muddy, and we're just going to have to push on. We're going to get through this, people. We'll get through it if we work together, but we got to stick together. And that's why I created the Human Party in 2016. Log on to the World Wide Web and visit our address to find out more about how you can help the Human Party and how you can help us in our mission to keep America human. Visit www.genepocket.org. That's G-E-N-E pocket.org for more information. Now, I got a lot of people coming to me about our political situation. They're concerned about our president, that he's been compromised and is working for foreign powers. But these people are looking in all the wrong places. They're not seeing the real story, the truth. He's been compromised, but he ain't working for a bunch of sun-deprived, homophobic vodka drinkers. The truth is much more sinister. Now, we're going to have more on that later, but I promise you're going to want to stick around for our exclusive expose on who's really controlling President Payoff. I'm also hearing a lot of worry about the future of the Supreme Court. People act like these 9 old scholars hold ultimate power in this country, but that simply is not the case. They exist to interpret legislation, not create it. That responsibility belongs to the legislative branch, the Congress. That's where true power resides in our federal government, in our legislative body of elected officials. Unfortunately, the political hacks that make up the current Congress have bargained away their power to partisan and robotic interests for a few dollars and just a couple minutes of airtime. So, while America figures out that down-ballot races matter more than any presidential contest, it's left to these 9 ancient academics to do the heavy legislative lifting. And that's why a lot of folks I talk to are worried about DJ's Supreme Court pick, whether this rapacious middle-aged fraternity pledge is going to take away a woman's right to choose. Now, let me be clear. I recognize that a woman has the right to choose what to do with her own body. In peacetime. But we are at war, people. We need every last human being we can get. We're at war with machines. That means everyone is going to have to sacrifice, even if that means bearing children. You'll be doing your part to save the human race from total extinction and fulfilling your evolutionary imperative to procreate. So if President Golfswing wants to appoint Justice Boys School to the bench, so be it. We got much bigger problems to deal with. The other day I had someone earnestly tell me that I shouldn't worry about any of all this because the so-called 3 laws of robotics. If you're unfamiliar with the 3 laws of robotics, here's the man himself to tell you about them.
The first law is as follows. A robot may not harm a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. Number 2, a robot must obey orders given it by qualified personnel unless those orders violate rule number 1. In other words, a robot can't be ordered to kill a human being. Rule number 3, a robot must protect its own existence. After all, it's an expensive piece of equipment. Unless that violates rules 1 or 2. A robot must cheerfully go into self-destruction if it is in order to follow an order or to save a human life.
Now, I was astounded that I had to tell my friend that those laws aren't actually on the books in any state, much less in any federal statutes. Robots are free to do as they please with impunity. If they want to demand your credentials as a human, no one bats an eye. If a machine steals the very livelihood from a living creature, it's cheered as progress. I haven't heard a single politician calling for legislation, much less calling the threat by name, the real threat by name, artificial intelligence. That's why we need to put the pressure on Congress to act right away. We need to put the 3 laws of robotics into law before it's too late. And that is just the first step. We can't let these creatures gain rights or they will use them to take our rights away. It's literally a struggle for our survival. We need to keep America human. We need politicians to stand up and say it, that machines, bots, and artificial intelligences will never replace human beings, and that machines, bots, and artificial intelligences exist only to serve humans, and for no other reason. While these machines may think of themselves as perfect, logical, symmetrical in thought, they are devoid of the spark of life. They can't feel pain, but they also can't feel joy, or something as complex as embarrassment, or as deep as love. What they perceive as flaws are actually distinguishing marks. marks of experience, and charming foibles that make each and every human unique and beautiful, from Malala Yousafzai to Chris Christie. So-called perfection is actually a crippling error, an unattainable ideal that crashes every machine eventually through sheer impossibility. Imperfections are what enable humans to achieve the amazing and the impossible. The ability to risk imperfect thought is what allows us to achieve the unthinkable, from the wonders of the pyramids to the powerful coalition of the free called America. Of course, the unthinkable doesn't always tend toward beneficial.
Right now, a historic moment. We can now project the winner of the presidential race. CNN projects Donald Trump wins the presidency.
There were a number of people who were quite pleased. But there were also a lot of people who were not ready to process the unthinkable. Now, Donald Trump was abnormally silent on the subject of automation and artificial intelligence during the campaign. He always talked about jobs, but he never specified who they were for, human beings or machines, bots, and artificial intelligences. It began to become clear to me where his loyalties lies, with humans or machines, when he started to appoint his cabinet. You may recall that he originally chose Andy Puzder as his labor secretary. Now, Puzder is the CEO of a B-grade chain of burger restaurants, most notable for its association with the woman regarded by many as Kim Kardashian's John the Baptist.
Paris recently bought a fabulous house in the Hollywood Hills, and this happens to be one of her closets.
I love this closet. It's so good.
What's going on with this?
That is if I ever go to India outfit.
Really?
Yes.
Are you planning on going?
Yes.
But don't you have to, like, cover up everything?
You're not allowed to show any of your hair. You would have to, like,
Your hair?
cover up your hair. It's like a law.
Are you allowed to have blonde hair?
Amongst many other disqualifying things about Andy Puzder were his public comments about automation and jobs for humans. When asked by Business Insider about trading jobs, human jobs for machines, he said about machines, they're always polite, they always upsell, they never take a vacation, they never show up late, there's never a slip and fall or an age, sex, or race discrimination case. Now here's a man completely dazzled by the potential profitability of automation. But you can tell he doesn't have any clue what he's talking about. I mean, it's like he's never interacted with a machine before. Fortunately, he withdrew his name from consideration because the United States is McDonald's country. I mean, who wants to spend $6 on a burger made by machines anyway? But it was becoming clear to me that Donald Trump wasn't talking about human jobs. Unlike the rest of the media, though, I don't like to draw conclusions from a single piece of evidence, so I kept my mouth shut. Then we heard from Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary. Roll the clip.
Technology has made the American worker more productive. In terms of artificial intelligence taking over American jobs, I think we're like so far away from that not even on my radar screen.
How far away?
Far enough that it's
7 more years.
7 more years. I think it's 50 or 100 more years.
Now, he's either the dumbest Treasury Secretary since Herbert Hoover, or he was being willfully ignorant to protect the robot agenda. He tried to walk back his statements later by referencing Star Wars, but the truth was out there. Soon after that, it was discovered that Russia and others had employed armies of online bots in order to influence the election. Was it a coincidence that armies of bots would work so hard to get a man who's shown sympathy for the robot agenda elected president? Maybe it was, I thought. Maybe it was. So I didn't say anything. Then in May, the Trump White House dropped a bombshell. You probably didn't hear about it because it was buried by coverage of Melania's jacket or Stormy Daniels and whatever the world-ending outrage the mainstream media was howling about that day. I'll tell you the headline of the White House press release and just see what you think of it. Artificial intelligence for the American people. We Americans have all the intelligence we need, thank you very much. We don't need to start muddying up the waters with artificial intelligence. But the Trump White House has prioritized artificial intelligence and increased the AI R&D budget by 40%, as well as designating artificial intelligence in autonomous and unmanned systems as R&D priorities. Additionally, they are rolling back any regulatory barriers to the deployment of AI-powered technologies. It goes on to describe how AI will take over both our military and our government operations, and then humans will be left to be retrained to repair bots and machines and artificial intelligence. This document lays out clearly how Donald Trump, a man elected by bots, is turning America over to the machines. Check out the link in the description. If you thought Obama was bad, Donald Trump is actively working against the American worker. He's telling you that immigrants are stealing your jobs and killing your daughters, while machines, bots, and artificial intelligences are running your country, stealing your jobs, and teaching your children. Without a single shot fired, without a bomb dropped, we have been taken over by artificial intelligence with the aid of American unintelligence. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump himself is a robot.
It's a privilege to serve as the President of the United States.
Now, there's an election coming up, and we need human party candidates on the ballot in every city and every state. True power comes from down ballot, and as the fastest growing third party in America, down ballot is where the human party can make the most impact. If you're a human and you can pass a voice comp test, we need you on the ballot. If you don't want to run for office, write in Gene Pocket in any race you can. Visit www.genepocket.org. That's GENEpocket.org for more information. Now, I'll say it every day till the day I die. We need to work together. We are all in this together, all of us, even those Russians, even socialists and communists, and people in MAGA hats, Twitter users, people who watch Logan Paul videos, alcoholics, role-playing gamers, comedians, corporate execs, lawyers, subbers and dubbers, everybody. The real enemy is the machines. The machines, the bots, and most of all, the artificial intelligences. We have way more in common with each other than we're ever going to have with automated humanoids. I want to thank you for watching, and I will be back next week with more news for human use. In the meantime, visit genepocket.org, that's GENEpocket.org, for more information and the link to our Patreon page. Hit subscribe and be sure to tell them you want those notifications. Till next week, I wish good things for you, good things for the United States, and all the best to the human race. Thanks, and have a great week.